Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Gwyn, and the Insider crew.
Happy New Year, everyone. It's episode 148. This is our first episode in 2025. It's a big year for us.
It is.
It is. It's PCA's 70th anniversary. Personally, it's also a big year for me. This will be my 20th year as PCA's executive director.
Wow.
So, yeah, we've been doing this a while.
Yes, you have.
Manny's been in PCA longer than I. How many years total, Manny?
Joined in 89.
89?
What's that?
Do the math.
A lot. Well, if we're talking about when we joined.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You were young.
Yeah, 2006, but I let my membership lapse, I think, for 2 or 3 years.
But you've been PCA employee for 11 years.
11 years, a little over 11. Yeah, December 2013, technically. Yeah.
Well, to all of our listeners, Happy New Year, and we wish you a tremendous year. And we've got a lot going on. We'll talk about some of the events. How was everyone's holiday? Did you get to do what you were hoping?
I relaxed as much as possible. Got to see the Ravens, who
I even watched
phenomenal. 3 games so close to each other. Won all 3, and now they're
so they're in contention
division
to
contenders.
division. I knew that. I was listening.
There you go.
I think I texted you.
Well, I figured you watched it for Beyonce, the halftime show.
I did, and can I tell you?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know if I should say this publicly, but I was kind of, I wouldn't say disappointed. Disappointed is a little bit stronger, but I'm not a Cowboy Carter fan, so I was just like, it was good, but it
As
wasn't.
much as you don't know about football, it's equal to my not knowing what in the world Cowboy Carter is.
Yeah. So
Is that her album or something, or is that an alter
that's
ego?
Beyonce's
country
album.
country-ish
persona album, whatever. Yeah. But the highlight for my family, most of them left for Peru. That part is not the highlight. We usually like to kind of celebrate together, but they were watching the Ravens in Peru and celebrating, and they posted to Instagram, here we are, fans from Peru, and the announcers picked it up and put their photo for everyone to see. So
that's
that
awesome.
was their not even 5 seconds of fame.
Now, why was a Vietnamese family in Peru?
They wanted to go to Machu Picchu.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So
Did they make it there?
More than a dozen of them went there and had an incredible time, and the food and
Did they take you can either walk up there, which is a huge task, or you can take the...
they took the bus,
train
but
or
they
a
still
bus
had
to
to
the-
walk
Okay.
kind of to get to the very top.
Wow, that's
So,
impressive.
Yeah, definitely a bucket list item. We had so much going on, and also with the year, how crazy it's been, we unfortunately did not get to join them. So we'll have to check that list or item off our list later.
Yep.
How about you, Damon?
I didn't do too much. I had a dinner with some friends on Christmas Eve, and then hung out with some other friends on Christmas Day, watched the Ravens game, which is pretty cool. Worked on the Camry a little bit, thought that I had fixed its starting issue. Was looking at the coil packs since it's...
Can we talk about why you're fixing the Camry and the
that's fine. I mean, I've needed to fix it for a while, and I'll get there. But basically, I've realized when an opportunity came up for a different car / SUV that my heart's not in the Camry like it used to be, and it's sat for basically a year, and it's time to move on, I think. And that was when well, actually, if those who listen to the podcast regularly might remember when Rob said he bought his 2005 Cayenne, that if he ever sells it, please ask me. And I think he's thinking of selling it. So
we can cement it right here. We can cement it right here.
Yeah.
Is he still in love with the BMW that he found?
Well, I went and test drove it, and that's a story if you guys want to.
His BMW went to test drive?
I went to go test drive the BMW for him.
Yeah.
Okay, so for our listeners, he is considering a BMW daily driver and selling you
his 05 Cayenne.
Is he looking at X3? Or?
Yeah, it's an X3. So his Cayenne, it's a V6 base model, 2005, and he's looking to go to a 6-speed manual BMW X3.
Okay, a little bit smaller, a little bit more fuel efficient.
Yeah, a
Got
little bit
it.
more.
The fuel efficiency that he told me
yeah.
is what's killing
Yeah,
him.
exactly. So a little bit more fuel efficient. I go up to the dealership. It's a small dealership, middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. And it seems like a nice dealership, by appointment only. The folks there, very nice, let me look at the car. We started it up cold. It was running really well at that point.
Oh, there's more
And-
to the story. At that point.
At that point. So, I checked around under the car, like for 118,000 miles, like it had a little bit of, of a moistness underneath the transmission, but everything seemed okay. Taking on the test drive, we go a few miles out to warm it up. As soon as it's warm, I turn over to the salesperson and ask him, hey, is now a good time? I'd like to, take it up, full throttle in second gear. He says, yep, go ahead. So second gear, I get on the throttle and revs are climbing.
But the
and
car's not.
And it was.
Oh.
It gets to 5,500, 6,000 RPM, and it feels like I hit the rev limiter.
Wow.
Oh.
I'm thinking, no, but the red line is at 7,000 RPM.
Oh.
Oil light comes on.
Oh,
And then
really?
the battery light comes on, and the car turned off, and I had to coast it to the side of the road.
On the test drive.
On the test drive, yeah.
Yowzers.
So it might be like a Vanos solenoid. Actually, kind of sounds like it could be that, but we don't know for sure. So I don't know if Rob will end up with that one or not. But
Oh, but
that's
very cool car. I
mean-
mean, I'm impressed actually.
very good to have someone check out the car, drive it, and someone like
Yep.
yourself that has a little bit of experience to do sort of a little bit more spirited driving on the test drive.
Yeah.
You may have saved him
Yeah.
from one headache into another one, so to speak.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
His Cayenne's fine, I think.
Yeah, the Cayenne's
He
fine.
put some
Yeah.
money into it, but he just told me the gas mileage is killing
Yeah,
him, even
it's
though
like
it's a
18
six.
on the highway or
Yeah.
something.
He does do a lot of
I was
driving.
going to say.
And I kind of remember warning him saying that I know it's a 6-cylinder, but doesn't get
No.
better gas mileage
Nope.
than the 8-cylinder
Yeah.
Cayenne.
It's a
So-
great looking car. It's
Oh,
lapis
it's beautiful.
blue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A
it
beautiful
is.
car.
And I love blue car. Blue is
Yeah.
my favorite
For
color.
Damon, it'd probably be perfect because he obviously doesn't have the commute that Rob does going to.
I would
Canada
use it
back
here
forth.
and there,
Yeah.
and then in the future, whenever I have a race car, it'll be the tow vehicle.
It's a great looking E1
Yep.
and super clean.
Yep.
So
And yeah, that basically.
here's the thing, Damon.
Yeah.
Knowing Rob, he has his mindset on finding another car, even though it's not that
Not
car.
this one.
He's
It'll-
gonna
yeah.
find another car.
Oh, I
In
know,
his
I
head,
know.
that
In
car
his
is-
head, it's already
and
like,
what makes it better is that he has someone who was willing to buy it without him having to
Oh,
advertise
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So he's just money's not in his pocket yet, but eventually it is.
I think. What did he ask? Q5 TDI.
ooh,
So that's what he's looking for.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
that does get good gas mileage, but I can tell you,
Rare.
when you need, well, not only
Oh.
rare, but if you need service on that car, it is not cheap unless you know someone. So,
Yeah.
um,
Exactly.
anyways,
And that's why, the Camry, that made me realize when I was much more excited about potentially buying Rob's Cayenne.
Yeah.
And my thoughts were immediately, the Camry has to go. So
Yeah.
to me, that just means regardless of whether I buy Rob's car or not, the Camry has to go.
yeah.
So I thought, to finish that story, I thought I fixed its no starting issue. It would start cold and run, but if you tried to start it warm, usually wouldn't.
Like it wouldn't even turn over, or
It'll turn over and rev, but then it just immediately dies. It doesn't idle or hold an idle. P1300 code, so it's an igniter ignition thing.
Yeah.
So, and I've tried a few things. So I thought I fixed it. I didn't, but when I went on the test drive, the car now pukes brake fluid. So
Oh.
the hard
a
line,
rotted hard line.
yeah, a rotted hard line near the rear of the car. So
That's not too bad, actually.
That's
Yeah.
almost, given with daily drivers in Maryland.
Yeah.
It's,
yeah, in Chicago
Yeah.
for most of its life. But yeah.
Well, let me share with you. I did get. It was pretty warm here in Maryland, so one, I got to drive some of the cars that I haven't been driving. Two, I got to do a couple oil changes, but then I thought I would do a one bolt project for my Cayenne. I got a P0335 code. I'm not sure if I talked about this on our last podcast, but I was driving around also in my E1 Cayenne, and over the last few months I would hop in, turn the key, and it would like turn over, but it would take a while sometimes to actually start and run. It was just random. okay, whatever. It always started, so I never really really had to think twice about it. But the other day coming down Route 1, I noticed like a loss of power, and then it shut off, and then I started again. So I got home and put it on my little handy dandy code reader, and I got P0335, which was a bad crank position sensor. Okay, I know where I need to go. So a crank position sensor is probably one of the cheapest parts you can get for your Cayenne. It's about $60 or so. It's literally a 1 bolt and 1 plug repair. And it was a beautiful day out in Maryland. So I said, you know what? I will put it up on the ramps, get on the driveway on my back, and work and get that out.
Knowing full
I'm
well that
thinking-
the Titanic was just a one iceberg.
I'm thinking.
So here's the thing: if you read all the how-tos online, people talk about, oh well, you know, the toughest part of all this is getting to where the plug harnesses in the back of the back by the engine firewall and behind the air pump. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to do first, because I'm not going to undo anything underneath and then find out I can't unplug the darn sensor. So guess what? Popped the hood, moved some trim panels out, looked behind the air pump, and yes, it is tucked back there, and you can't get 2 hands to undo a plug. And if you've ever done this before, you know how much of a pain in the behind it is. But thankfully, it's connected to a like a harness holder, I guess. And so you can actually press the clip and use the harness holder to be your second hand, unplug it, and then slide it out of the harness holder thing. So I'm like, great. Next up, the 1 bolt.
Yeah.
Get down back. It's an Allen head. I forget what size it is. Get down. I'm like, oh, it looks a little rusty, but I'll put some penetrating oil. I'll hit it with a hammer a couple times, maybe break up the threads and da 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 da. And I'm not kidding you. I literally just put the socket on, or the Allen head on, with my extension wrench, and just not even a quarter of a turn. And this
And it broke off.
And this is what I ended up with.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, so we'll post a picture here for you guys. The sad part of it is it's on the side of the transmission, up underneath, and on your back on the driveway. I can tell it's gonna be a pain to get to. Now my choices are, well, I'm like, now my choice is, do I take the sensor out and then try attempting that on my driveway? Or do I leave that sensor, because I know my car will run with it in there, and limp it here maybe to put it on the lift and drill it out here? Or do I go to go over to Bob and see Bob and throw it up there? And so I was talking to Bob. He's like, dude, just come over and we'll tackle it together. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna try to capture how a pro will handle it. And I also inspired Jake Raby. He saw this. He goes, oh, you know what? I want to make a tool for you, because if you have to drill that out, if anyone has ever taken a stud out that's been stuck, you have to really position your drill bit perfectly center so that you don't cause damage to the thread. So he's creating something. We'll see. But anyways, that was what was supposed to be a 10-minute.
So now your Cayenne doesn't run at all now.
No, it runs because I didn't take the sensor off.
Oh,
I left the sensor on,
right,
so it still runs, but I'm not gonna want to drive.
You know
it
what you
far.
could do is you get the new sensor, get some JB weld, and just
Trust me, I even thought of some very.
I mean,
but I just can't do it. Like I gotta do it right. Yeah. And there's nothing around that area that you could kind of create a strap or something to. Yeah, so you. Thankfully, you can tell it just broke off at the base of the top of the bolt. So there should be quite a bit to grab onto. So I'm thinking heat, penetrant, heat, penetrant, and then hopefully turn it out with a vice grip. And then get, I would think, a stainless steel screw so it doesn't happen again. I mean, because the salt's in Maryland. That's the thing. People that in California don't understand the struggle.
No.
Like, they take out mufflers and they take out headers, and It's
They don't even put wipers in their cars.
yeah,
So
like
they
it's
delete their wipers sometimes.
it's nothing to them. But for every time I work under my cars, I'm just like, oh, please don't let there be a bolt that's gonna snap. And yeah, my one bolt project turned into, I wouldn't say it's a nightmare, but just not what I was expecting.
Nothing like that, but my daughter's Infinity, her light went out. And so I go to the Advanced or AutoZone or something like that and look up, pick up the bulbs. And when I lift up the hood, I see a little sticker that says xenon discharge, something like that. And I'm like, oh, I forgot she had xenon lights. And when I looked it up, I guess they didn't give me xenon options because when I looked at it, I go, these are not xenon
Right,
bulbs.
they're just halogen bulbs. Yeah.
So I look on YouTube and I said, I might as well get this out to replace it. And that way I can bring it to Advanced and have them give me the correct bulb. It is, first of all, I noticed that all the videos did it on the passenger side light. And I'm like, well, that's easy to get to. The driver's side, you got to remove a lot of the air and filter intake stuff. So I did all that, but you can't see inside the light from behind. And
You have to do it by feel.
they're doing it with the camera. So with the camera, you're seeing everything. But as I'm going in the car, I'm like, there's no way I can stick my head anywhere to be able to see that.
Yeah.
And you have to, and it's not like just unplugging like a regular halogen headlamp. You've got to, there's like some clips you got to remove.
Right.
And wiring, and then you get to the bulb. And I thought, that's like a surgeon who knows what he's doing, can feel it with his hands. I don't, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm weighing between, I wonder if Gennadi's done this. And I'm like, why is it got to be so difficult?
Yeah.
The BMW, simple. Just reach in, turn, crank, pull out, and you're done.
Sometimes they just don't think about who's going to have to service it later. They put it all together and they're like, well, we'll take apart the front end of the car.
Yeah.
But you brought up about the rust and everything, made me think. I saw this somehow when I was searching for something else, but it got my attention. Do you have the underbody cleaner attachment for your power washer?
I've seen it, but I do not have it.
It serves as a sweeper. Mm-hmm. So you can turn it
upside down.
Basically, hooks up to your power washer, and it has, I don't know, 3 or 4 jets that shoot up, which were like you brought up people who live in climates where there's snow and the salt. You can just, it's on rollers, so and it comes with extensions that you just roll. I don't know if you'd ever used it. And it's not expensive. They're like $40.
It's not, but I don't know how effective it would be. And then I would worry about what componentry you might get moisture into plugs, and because like the plugs for the catalytic converters or anything up by the engine, or plugs on the shocks. And so
when you take it for an automated car wash that has that feature to clean the underbody.
I don't take my cars through automated car washes.
Yeah,
I know, and I'm sure people do it all the time. I guess it's okay. I guess cars are made to go in the rain, so I mean, I'm sure they're protected.
You still have your panels on the bottom of your Cayenne, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I guess it protects it a lot. But I've seen it. I've been intrigued by it because it looks pretty cool, just to be able to sweep and clean off the stuff under their car. So did you you mentioned your family was looking at model cars for you for the holidays, but they weren't like legit Porsche ones. So what did they end up getting you?
They got me a what's that series? I'm drawing a blank, but they sell them at Walmart. So they got me 2 cars I don't have in my collection.
Hot Wheels?
No. They're something rides. I'm drawing a blank now. Anyways, I got 2 of them. One was a Martini. I think it was a Transformer, maybe.
Okay.
Surprisingly, it was 2 I didn't have in my collection. And they got me a book I didn't have, which I actually look forward to reading. Gordon Maltby's book about the history of the 356. It was the forward by Grant Larson.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, what's my parents have been doing our whole lives is my brother and I, we get identical gifts. So as he was opening his up, I'm like, yep, I'm going to get that in about 30 seconds.
Does he get to go first because he's younger?
So my granddaughter walked it over and said, "This is for you, Pops." And I'm like, "Do you think it's a book or you think it's toy cars?" I do. And it was sometimes it depends on who the name they pull out first. But anyways, it was
the same gifts.
The same gifts.
Because it's equal love. Hello.
Yeah, well, I figured that was probably
the same Ravens sweatshirts or hoodies.
Trust me, my kids do the same. They look at each other's gifts and like, who do they love more?
so which one do your is it you or your brother that your parents love more? What are they trying to cover up?
I don't know. I've given them 3 grandchildren, and then
Great grandchildren.
and four, soon to be four great grandchildren.
Yeah.
And my brother has one daughter, so I'm winning on that front. So, I don't know. Although my Christmas night was spent in the emergency room
What?
because my father. Did I tell you this?
No.
I must have told Laura. Yeah, my father slipped leaving my son's house.
Oh no.
And
Oh, yeah, I
when
remember
he
you saying
landed. He bumped his head, and so being
no.
84 years old, he didn't want to take a chance, and because it started like a bruising pretty bad. So off to the emergency room,
Oh.
which I'm thinking to myself, this is probably the last place we want to be.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, it wasn't busy.
Wow.
So they attended to us pretty quickly, and it's not a deli, so they don't do it by number. They take it by emergency.
Yeah.
So if you're having a heart attack, you're going to be over top the guy who has a cut on his finger.
Right.
And so they did a CAT scan and whatnot. But as we're waiting, Santa Claus comes in,
Oh my god.
and not to visit the patients, but Santa Claus was having chest pains.
Oh no.
And no lie, he was in the whole Santa garb, and he had the natural white beard.
I'm
And
not
he was,
laughing.
and he was in
but
a very
it's
jolly mood.
Yeah.
And the lady's like, "Oh my God, we've never had Santa," because there was a nurse at the entrance who was checking everyone, and she was, "Ryan, we just call you Santa tonight?" And he's like, "Sure." He kept on saying ho ho ho, and he's like, ho ho ho. He goes, "Santa's having some chest pains."
He's trying to get through an emergency room faster.
Wow.
Right? Playing it up.
They said,
Whatever it takes.
They said, "Santa, you're going to get an EKG now." So
Oh my
I
goodness.
thought, and there was 3 other people there, I think, with their parents because of falls. So
Yeah.
that was my Christmas evening.
Yeah. How about you for gifts? You pretty quiet on the gifts front
Yeah,
this
pretty
year?
quiet on the gifts front.
Yeah.
I don't really expect gifts.
Yeah.
So, and I don't really give gifts either. It's one of those things.
I
It sounds like the Larry David.
I told you
I
guys
kind
about
of like.
how my family does Secret Santa. So I had a list of things that I wanted. I think I told you guys last time I was looking forward to getting my little JBL Flip 6 Bluetooth speaker, as well as the bracket to make it all work under the dash of the 356. So we'll throw up some photos.
Nice.
But yeah, it came and it worked out perfectly. So now I have this detachable bracket here, and then you just throw on, and it kind of clips the speaker on both sides. It's completely under the dash. I used the existing fuse panel holder screw, so I didn't drill any new holes or anything. It's about an inch lower than I would like, but it works. It works.
I almost wish you would put a camera under there so we could capture the facial expressions of judges or people.
I know.
When they look down there and see that.
So now when you're looking inside the interior of my car, unless you're looking for it, you can't.
No, it looks good.
Yeah, you cannot tell.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it sounds reasonable. Sounds decent.
Nice.
It's definitely better audio quality than its original, but it's out of sight, super easy, connected to Bluetooth.
Well, considering FM radio wasn't around yet, I don't think back
This
then.
was mono. I would say
Yeah.
mono. Actually, my radio has FM on
Oh,
it.
does it? Okay.
It has
Oh,
FM,
interesting, yeah.
but it's not
Early FM.
stereo. I don't think. I think it's just mono.
Before we move on, I'm remembering somebody who asked in the comments what makes a car street stock or modified or whatever.
For what class or for what?
Well, that's the thing. So it was a very, I think the guy was asking, what is a car still considered stock if you take like a Carrera 3.2 and bump the displacement to 3.4?
Was it
That's
what
modified.
Was it
So that's what I was saying. I answered with, and I'm answering this because I've been thinking about it the past couple of weeks. Now we're all together. I think that's modified. You think that's modified.
Sure.
In a Concours, Manny, I think you were telling me, what if the judges don't notice, then it's then it's
sure?
all good.
It's so you're saying they changed the engine.
Yeah, they changed the engine.
It's
So
still
let's say
Porsche
bump-
engine.
They just bumped up the displacement after.
Oh, I
rebuild.
remember what this was. He
Yeah,
went
yeah.
from a 2-liter to like a 2.2.
something like that. Yeah.
Which and I said, well,
Matching numbers.
We're still using the mechanical fuel injection. Odds are that a judge won't even notice unless he tells them that it's been bumped up to 2.2.
Yeah.
Especially if you use the original engine.
Yeah.
It's still, but is that considered original?
That's what it was.
And
It's
I
all
said,
original.
probably not. If I was buying one, I wouldn't consider it 100% original.
It can't be.
Would it affect it? I don't know.
It depends on the
See,
car.
yeah. See, for me, it's not original because I wouldn't be able to compete in the street stock autocross class. So for autocross,
If
for
it
example,
not how it came from the factory,
Yeah.
then it is not original. Plain and simple. Now, whether or not people notice it,
Yeah.
that's your own thing of whether or not you're gonna tell judges if you're gonna go to an autocross and drive a 3.6 car when it was supposedly looks like a 3-liter and you win your class and nobody can test you, then okay, whatever.
Yeah.
If you can live with that, but that is not stock. That is definitely modified.
Yeah, it can become confusing because you have parade rules, and then the regions sometimes have their own rules. And the hardest class to judge, I think, at parade is restoration. Excuse me, restoration means that it has to be, like you said, the way it came. Your car came from the factory.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you need a certificate of authenticity or a product specification sheet that says exactly. There may have been other options available for your car, but if it didn't come with that, then it's not considered original when it's there.
Yeah.
Or preservation, but restoration has to be, everything has to be the original. And that becomes tough as finding judges who can determine whether or not that's original. And I encountered how tough that is when the one time I judged at Amelia Island, we lifted up the hood of a 66 911, and I could tell right away they over cadmium plated the thing.
Yeah.
Looked pretty,
Yeah.
but it was cadmium plated on things that shouldn't have been cadmium plated. And the other judges looked at it and said, "Oh, this looks spectacular."
Yeah.
And in my head, I said, "Should I point out that this isn't correct, or?" But how do we judge? What are we judging on?
Yeah.
I think he placed. I don't think he won, but it wasn't counted against him. The fact because not many judges know whether or not it's. And I wouldn't say I'm an expert because when you start analyzing every part of that engine and saying, well, is this washer supposed to be cadmium plated?
Right.
Is this supposed to be cadmium plated?
And then it comes back to what does it matter? What's it matter to you? What does it matter to the event you're attending? Because technically any car over, I would say 10 years is not original. Why do I say that? Because if you said it has to be how it came from the factory, most of these cars have new tires. Most of these cars have
I don't
new-
think anybody requires tires or batteries to be original.
But what if you get a water pump because it's got 50,000 miles and it's a new design?
But that's where, like, the
Yeah.
914s, they don't make certain fuel filters. They used to be clear, now they're black, and they don't make the clear ones anymore, I believe. So what do? Just use an old oil fuel filter to be original? Or
Yeah.
I always tell people when I won overall of my 914, there were like 5 things. And I even told the judge this right off the bat. I said, I'm going to save you a lot of time. Here's what's not original in the car.
Yeah.
And because they were arguing about my front spoiler, and I said it's not original. It's a 74. Never was available in 73.
Yeah.
And by the way, here's what else is not original in this car, but I choose it to be that way because I autocross.
Yeah.
And I wanted these kind of shocks. So I'll save you a whole bunch of time from having to look it up or discuss.
Yeah. So I guess to answer the question, all original, crazy enough, can mean different things to different people. But I mean, if it really comes down to it, if you change something, and to me, particularly displacement of an engine, to me, it's no longer original. And I would note that if I were like selling the car, for example, I would note that, but I would also say, but it's still a numbers matching case.
Right. And
et cetera, et
it
cetera.
may not negatively affect the value of their car because if
exactly.
someone wanted a more powerful version of your car and had the same numbers matching case, but now it's punched out to 0.5 more, I would see that as a plus, right?
Yeah.
So like your engine that's sitting outside this room
Yeah.
is punched out.
Yep.
But looking at it, it looks
wouldn't
like
know
the
it.
same engine you had left here, but a lot cleaner.
And the case is the same as what it was. So
That to me, that's a bonus. Not,
Yeah.
sometimes I think it's you're the one that always says like the Germans kind of chuckle at us about how over restored our cars are when there are opportunities to make our cars better with modern technology. And we choose to ignore it and utilize
Put the old original
put
parts
the old
on it.
original parts on.
Yeah, I always say the story about the sunroof motor.
Yeah.
Where they wanted to put a 993 sunroof motor in our 73. And they said, we know how serious the Americans are about restoring. He said, but the 73 motor, sunroof motor, never worked when it was new.
Yeah.
So we know that if we put a 73 sunroof motor, even if we refurbish it,
It'll break.
it's going to break.
Yeah.
And he goes, but the 9, and I said, what, do you see the motor? He said, no, it's underneath the headliner. And I said, well, if I don't see it, I don't care.
Well, what was the other thing? The other thing was We're talking about the 73 911T that we restored in 2011 with Porsche Classic. And one of the other things they wanted to do, which is a big problem with a lot of these cars of that era, was to rust-proof the rear foot area. And they're like, we have the opportunity to do this to make this car last a long time, but it's not how it was done originally. How would you guys like to do it? Because we understand sometimes in the United States, or some people that restore cars will restore it to exactly how it was done back in the day. But we feel that we want to restore it to a point where it's going to last longer and get more enjoyment. So we chose to have it be rusted.
Because he said this is why they rusted, because they used a material that would absorb water and hold it, and then cause the rusting. And I thought, well, this is underneath the carpeting.
Yeah.
So I said, just do it the way your modern version. We want the car to last for a while.
Yeah.
Well, let me take a moment and just thank everyone for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, what are you waiting for? Make sure and grab your VIN, head over to PCA.org and join as an official PCA member. And if you are looking for your Porsche, we have the test drive program where we unlock resources for you to be able to find that Porsche for your driveway or garage. Again, at PCA.org. How about New Year's automotive resolutions? You've been talking about painting your wheels for how long now?
And I look at them every time I go in my garage because they're lined up.
Let's just put them in the car.
I know.
Put them in the car and let's just do it.
We should.
Let's just do it.
Although I saw a set of Kinesis, the Speedline copies they used to make. I used to have them.
I saw them. It was on the mark.
1500,
and it's nearby.
I actually looked up the Alexandria.
Yeah.
And I looked up the offsets to see whether or not I think they would fit.
Yes. That would look good.
Yes. I was like, I love those wheels because they look just like the speed lines that came on the 964 Turbo. But they're three-piece Kinesis. I
smoking deal.
When I was racing them, I got $1,200 I paid for when I was racing them.
Really?
Well, racing, I bought them for my race car, and they were for a 993, which required me to use like half-inch spacers in the rear. But it all worked, and they looked phenomenal.
Yeah, it took all of my willpower. Do not send this person a note because it's nearby. And
what car would you put it on?
Well, I thought, they're 17s, so it could work on Loan's Boxster, but then
Maybe,
I promised her that I wouldn't modify her car, so and then I was like, well, it would look good on the Turbo look too, but I feel like but I like my Fuchs better, so that's when I'm like, I'm out, and also I shouldn't be spending on stuff that honestly
you
I don't
should
need.
focus on getting that top fix on your Turbo look.
How long? That's been as long as your wish.
It's a Speedster now.
Your quest
I
for
bet you I
painting
get
your
the wheels before you get the top done.
That's true. That's true. It's the original top, and it looks it.
Yeah,
and it looks it. Oh, you're just looking to hopefully get the.
I was just thinking about that right now, and get the Camry ready and sell it.
Yeah.
If the Camry if I still own that car at the end of 2025, then something
be
went
gone.
wrong.
It'll be for me. It's going to be an interesting year because I'm pretty sure this is my wife drives a Sonic every day, and I am getting very short with the Sonic because, like this morning, she texted me. She goes, "The blinker stopped working and the hazard stopped working."
Wow.
Okay.
And I'm like, it's probably not fuses because that means they usually have a left and right side fuse. Could be the relay. But and it's always something with that car.
Really?
It has 100 and
it was just in the shop like a month ago.
What was in the shop for?
It's
It
such a
wasn't
basic
running right.
car
It
that
was
I'm
like-
surprised things.
Oh yeah, it was the PCV valve.
PCV valve.
Oh.
It's a basic car, but when it's a crappy basic car,
Yeah.
I mean, there is on Reddit. There's a whole users group, and they pretty much
Bash it.
themselves. I saw one meme like I forgot. Anyways, it's the only redeeming value of this car is that because of its crappiness, we don't care where we park it.
Yeah.
Or what really happens to it. So anyways, I've been looking at CPO Cayennes for a while.
Ooh.
Weighing that and maybe a 3-row Toyota SUV.
A Highlander.
A Highlander, even a
RAV4?
a 4Runner would be, but that's 2-row, I think.
Yeah,
I don't think they make a
Forerunners
three-row.
are newer Forerunners. I think have
Yeah.
3-row.
Anyways, what I realized is the gas mileage is no better on a Toyota than it is a Porsche.
On the big ones, yes.
Yeah, I
You're
was
correct.
surprised.
Unless
I
you get a
thought- I
hybrid.
thought it was going to be better.
Unless you get a hybrid one.
No, I don't want
Yeah.
that.
But you want a 3-row vehicle. for
Well,
the
I
kid.
told her, I said, you got to think about it 'cause we have grandchild number 4 coming. And our grandchildren live about 15 minutes away, so we see them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, with the Cayenne, you're going to have at best 4 seats.
Yeah.
That's it. So,
So do you guys travel where there's more than 5 people in the car often?
well, sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. You know what the answer is from me.
No, it's not going to be a minivan.
Yeah.
Husband number 2 can get a minivan. Husband number 1 is not getting a minivan.
Well, it's for her, not for you.
No, we're beyond the minivan, so that's what we're going to have to weigh. And then if the Z3 craps out with that 262,000 miles,
Yeah.
that's always a possibility. Or somebody hits it. Pretty much if anybody breathes on the thing, it's totaled.
Man, he's got a sign on the back of his car. Please hit me.
Well, it won't be worth anything. I'll make it like $1,500 from the insurance company. That's about it.
Yeah.
So we're looking at a car for me. So I also have to weigh. I wanted to get a used Boxster or Cayman as a daily driver. But that also changes the whole mindset because the advantage of driving a really crappy car like Damon had with his Camry is
No stress.
yeah, you don't care
Yeah.
where you park it. You don't care if somebody parks close to it because it's a crappy
In fact,
Yeah.
depending on how bad it is, people might avoid parking next to you.
car. Well, yes,
True. That's
When you look at my rear window,
Yeah.
they're like, obviously this guy doesn't have a lot to lose. So
Yeah, that's funny because that's why Boggs always asks, like, he's like, how come you have all these nice cars and you don't drive them every day? And I'm like, well, there's a time when I want to drive them, but so there's times where I just want to go to the grocery store and just park it wherever, and so I take the cars that are okay to. I'm still picky about my cars getting dents and dings, even if they're not quote unquote fancy, but I have less stress about it.
I think something I was thinking about this because the Cayman, I've owned it since 2019 and I've put over 30,000 miles on it, and it doesn't feel like I've driven it that much, but I have. But if you put 5,000 miles on your car for 20 years, that's 100,000 miles, right? So it adds up quickly. If you go 10,000 miles a year, like you do a road trip and some other stuff.
Sure.
You can't drive them every day if you want them to last for a long time, right? Maybe not last, but if you want to enjoy them as they're meant to be enjoyed rather than just using them as a commuting tool, right?
Yeah.
that's why I was looking at the first gen 986 because if I get them cheap enough, then it's not a collector car.
Yeah.
'Cause I love driving a Porsche every day. When I had them as daily drivers, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But they weren't valuable.
Yeah.
964 I bought was supposed to be that. It was supposed to be a daily driver, $17,000. It wasn't a lot of money.
But then,
But then it started going up in value, so I stopped driving it less and less every day. And so yeah, it's it'll see this year will be interesting to see what happens with me and cars.
Back when I was Bogdan's age, I thought the same thing. Why if you own a Porsche, why wouldn't you drive it every day? But yeah, a few years later, you realize.
Well, you look at 95, our interstate that we drive, and when Bogdan said the same thing to me, and I said, you know how many people I see not looking straight ahead, looking down at their phone, doing everything except looking ahead. I said, and I am literally driving in a straight line for 42 miles.
yeah.
Yeah.
I said, there's not a turn on 95 that's interesting. It's straight line. I said, so it's not exactly a great experience,
Right,
if you will.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about the 70th anniversary and talk about some of the national events we have to look forward to in 2025. The roster really hasn't changed a whole lot in terms of the events that PCA National will be doing, but at each event it'll be a little bit more special because we will be celebrating our 70th anniversary. So there'll be, I see, by the time this drops, then we will have announced that there is a new 70th anniversary PCA logo that Porsche designed. Porsche Design helped us design, which is really cool. So we'll be dropping that.
Really? They helped design that logo?
Yeah.
Yeah, super cool.
And they we will be sending, or we will have already sent that out to the local regions to share and start using it at their events. And then our official birthday is September 13th, 1955, which is a Saturday in 2025, which is also the day that we'll plan to have our open house here at National Office. But then we're going to look towards the regions to hopefully, many of them probably already have an event going on that Saturday, but to make, part of that September 13th and the 70th anniversary, sort of like the PCA day for next year. So that should be pretty cool. We've got some swag that's going to be coming out to celebrate the anniversary and such. So a lot of stuff going on. Let's see. The first event would be Daytona. We'll be at Daytona with our corral. The parking corral's already been sold out since November. The track handles that.
PCA, I was going to say, PCA has no control over
Yeah,
the
don't
tickets.
ask. We don't ask. We don't have permits for that.
Is it fair? No, I don't think it's fair.
Yeah.
They only, except for the people who have tickets, I'm sure thinks it's very fair.
Yeah.
But they only sell tickets to the people who currently bought it. So it's almost like
Yeah.
your favorite football team
Season
insert
tic-
their
season
ticket,
tickets,
season
yeah.
tickets. So
Where do we park? We park like in the mall that is
I
at
was
least
going to
a
say
mile
across
away.
the street where the shuttle bus,
Yeah,
if we're lucky, picks us up.
Exactly. And then Works Reunion comes in March, and we have already sold out the judged area, but we still have plenty of parking for the corral, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. And the 70th anniversary cruise, that's 850 plus people already signed up for that, going out Brooklyn and sailing the northeast of the U.S. and visiting some cool places. Hopefully be able to integrate some programs with the local regions, because we'll be stopping by Newport and Boston and some pretty cool
I
places.
guess we never exit international. Do we ever enter international waters?
I think so, because we go up into Canada. So
That's true.
That's technically international, right? Yeah.
Well, it depends where we are politically next year.
So the 50th anniversary, we had a club coupe. The 60th anniversary, we had a club coupe. Can I assume, and can you make a facial expression that...
He's pretty good at poker, so
Yeah, I know. I couldn't read that one, but
it's the 70th
I'm willing to bet.
anniversary.
I'm willing to
it's
bet.
the 70th anniversary.
yeah,
There's always hope.
there's always hope.
There's always
All
hope.
right.
or do they wait for the 75th?
Ah, true. Yeah.
There was never that dilemma before, right?
Yeah, yeah, there never was.
It was interesting because for the 60th, it wasn't assumed. They had done the 50th in 05,
Yeah.
and the 60th, to me, it felt like it was just a conversation I had with Porsche when we went over for the one event when they were they were celebrating their 60 years of Porsche clubs. So they had their first Porsche club ever formed, and it was an anniversary. And when they debuted the worldwide club coupe,
The Brewster
it
Green
was
one.
like Brewster Green. I think it was 13, maybe. It was like
Yeah.
how many members joined initially on that first club. And all I remember thinking was, boy, if we had the chance to do one again, we would do this so much better than this club coupe, this worldwide club coupe, mainly because it was so expensive.
Yeah.
It had every single option you could think of thrown at it. And I thought, well, we could do it a little bit differently. Anyways, it seemed like from that conversation, suddenly we had a 60th. So it wasn't assumed that there was going to be a 60th.
Yeah.
It just happened to.
And back then, I can't say. It's weird to say back then because it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. But
Yeah.
the 60th Club Coupe was.
Yeah. I was hired right around that time.
So-
Yeah,
so-
a long time.
The 60th anniversary was 10 years ago, but then the start of that project was like 3 years before that. So 13 years ago, we were talking about that project.
Yeah.
And 13 years ago, if you think back, special edition cars were not as commonplace as they are today. Paint to sample, exclusive, all that stuff was, I don't know, maybe infancy is not the right word, but it wasn't as mainstream.
That's
as
when
it
we
is
met
today.
Boris.
Yep,
We got
exactly.
to know Boris, and yeah, it was never a given.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if
Well,
they.
I'll hope, and I'm sure a lot of other
'cause
people
we
too.
we debuted the Club Coupe. It would have been like the week before Daytona, so it would have been around
Yep.
February, because I remember it was also the second day the PEC was opened. So the second day of their opening, we have this big reveal in their lobby, and
But then we still kept it kind of quiet because only the people that were there really got to see it. And then we took it to
then 2 weeks later we had it in
Daytona.
Daytona for the 24 hours.
Yeah, that was really cool. Speaking of cool, you came across a YouTube series about the turbos.
Yeah, so surprisingly, this doesn't have a whole lot of views considering how many subscribers Porsche has, but I started watching it, and I cannot recommend this enough for any Porsche enthusiast, especially turbo.
So the reason I haven't watched it, and sorry, Porsche, I love Porsche, but man, marketing videos, can't stand them. Are these marketing videos or are they not?
No,
They're actual.
No. The only drawback to them is that they are all in German, so they're subtitled. What I found is I sped it up twice the speed.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, well, it's not like I'm understanding what they're saying, but I can read the subtitles and I can read them.
You read fast enough.
Double the speed is more like my reading speed.
Yeah.
It is incredibly fascinating information. I can't recommend them enough. I learned so many more things I've never known. And they start with the first episode is about an hour. It's Norbert Singer, and the host is Timo Bernard. Timo was a factory driver. He won Le Mans in 919. He set a lot of records, and he's very articulate and a great host for this type of
These are
series.
deep dives then.
Very much deep dives.
Wow.
And it's almost as if they didn't have anybody from the PR department giving them any railings that they had to stay within.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so when Norbert Singer goes in, they start with the Can-Am car, which is what got Porsche started in turbocharging. And he explains how they realized to go against some big 7-liter McLarens. They needed something. They couldn't use the 12-cylinder, or they couldn't use just the 12-cylinder 917. It wasn't enough power. And the turbocharging was a fairly new thing, but that would give them the extra boost. They couldn't use the 16-cylinder engine because it was way too heavy. So they had to stick with the 12-cylinder, but by turbocharging. So they learned a lot with the turbocharging. And the CEO said, well, if we're going to dump all this money, then we should be making a street car and learn from this. And but like some of the stories that Singer talks about, he talks about the 2.1 RSR turbo, which came in second overall Le Mans. This was a street car that ran prototype because they didn't have production version of this particular car. So it was way overweight compared to the prototypes, the Matras it was running against. But with 2.1 liters, it was incredibly fast. And he talks about how they, and Norbert Singer, for those who don't know, is this phenomenal engineer for Porsche who interpreted the rules so very well in Porsche's favor that he came out with the wildest designs. A Moby Dick, he made the 9656 into what it was. So just a complete genius when it came to engineering and working within the rules, but finding loopholes to Porsche's advantage. And he talks about how the 2.1 RSR had to have a passenger seat. And so they made this passenger seat. And he said it was such lightweight aluminum that people are instructed, do not sit in this because you will crush it. It is so lightweight. And it seems like an hour, but it actually goes by very fast because he has a lot of photos, and he shows stuff that I've never seen before. So it's like a book come to life. The second episode, they bring Herman Burst, who was in charge of bodywork development, everywhere from the 2.7 Carrera RS upward, and he talks about how they developed a turbo wing. And he talks about the testing of the cars, which is interesting as well, because it was, if you think about it, and I looked at the picture, and I guess it was right, because as they're coming out with this 911 turbo, and this is 74, they're testing it. They're also testing out the 928 and the 924. He showed a picture in Algeria, I think, where they would do summer testing. And the 928, the 924, and the 911 Turbo, the 930
all there.
Are online, all being tested.
That's cool. Wow.
And he said they discovered that the T-tray spoiler was very effective at keeping the air pressure and cooling, but also as a place to put their lunch. So it goes on with Walter Roll and a gentleman named Thomas Krickelberg, who was the engine engineer, and how they, and he goes from telling how they went from the Mesker-based engine into water cooling, the Mesker-based engine, and then it finishes up with the modern turbo, and that's what Frank Young, who's the historical archives, and he talks about how coming full circle of what they do, and using building the 50th anniversary special edition turbo they came out with, and bringing back that original tartan interior, which almost didn't happen. It's filled with stories that, to me, what makes it cool is that these guys are still alive, and they won't be with us forever. But hearing first person account of what it was like in Wysock when they were testing this, or what they remember, the reactions of the higher ups in the Porsche family, and even the press and whatnot when these cars were released. It's
How many episodes in this series?
4 episodes.
Okay.
The first one's the longest at an hour. The shortest is when they come out with the 996 Turbo, which Walter Roll, I won't spoil it, but he has very strong opinions about Tiptronic and PDK.
Yes.
Very strong opinions.
I know that
That's how I
opinion.
knew. I'm like, there's no PR guy in
Yeah.
this room right now, because he would have cut him off with.
That's funny. Also, Edith, the movie or the car that climbs the mountain, that video, if you haven't watched,
It's on Amazon.
it's on Amazon Prime.
Oh, that's right.
So check that out.
the
If you
rock climber.
Yeah.
I want to address some of our viewers complain about this one thing, which we have no control over, and that is when you're watching a YouTube bit or video. Once in a while, we put maybe an ad in there with a radar detector and Damon, but all the other ads are not controlled by us. It's controlled by YouTube, and the only way for you to get those eliminated from during your viewing is to join YouTube Premium. That's not under our control.
We get no money from that. So.
Yeah, we get no money from that. So
Yeah.
whether or not you can stand it, and I just wait and I hit skip, and I know it's annoying, but that's how YouTube makes money, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And that's how, our videos can help offset the cost of producing them.
Yeah.
So you should also know that if you do get YouTube Premium, if you watch our videos, you're still helping our channel.
yeah.
You just won't see the ads. As far as our sponsored content, I want to address that as well, just a little bit further. We put timestamps into all our videos, and if there's a sponsored content, there's a timestamp for that as well. So just skip ahead, and it should be pretty clear where the sponsored content ends and the video begins.
Yeah, but honestly, it's people that are supporting us. So
Yeah.
take the time and listen. I mean, if you watched it once or twice and you've seen it's the same content, then fine.
Yeah.
Skip through it. But if you haven't, take a look at it, because people that are investing in PCA. So you should.
How
give them
about
some
this?
time.
If you see that Escort radar ad and you have no interest in radar, just skip ahead.
Yeah,
That's
there you
fine.
go.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Or you can comment on Damon's wire placement,
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
which made me look at the video, because I'm thinking,
Yeah.
what are they talking
Yeah.
about?
If you know me,
Now,
I'm not
why did
gonna-
you have to go there? Now you just popped another
Yeah, right.
top.
Yeah.
Is there any sponsors that we have to bring up for this show?
Yes, there is,
Okay,
and
I was gonna say.
that's a perfect lead in. And I want to say thank you officially for PCA Insider for 2025 on board as the official tire sponsor. We have Pirelli, so thank you Pirelli for
Yeah,
sponsoring
thank you,
PCA
Pirelli.
Insider. We appreciate it. I think this
Damon's
will-
even wearing his Pirelli work shirt.
I am,
which he,
yeah,
I think
right.
was just coincidental.
Really over on
Yeah.
the side here.
so we'll make sure and put our Pirelli
Yep.
sponsor logo
Yep,
on
and they
the
can
video.
mail the set of 265 3518 Feo RSs to my house. Just kidding.
Here's another series that I knew it was, but it was there, but I didn't take the time to watch during the holidays. I watched all of it. I thought it was really well done, and I know of Senna. I know of some of the things. I know the iconic video of him driving the NSX and watching his footwork, and I've seen the race at Monaco in the rain. I kind of know about it, but this was a really enjoyable series, and it's not often where I'm watching a series and I'm going, is that movie making or is that like legit? So I found myself like Googling while I was watching some of this. So if you haven't checked that out, Ayrton Senna's on Netflix. It's a series. Manny wrote an article, I think a few weeks ago, talking about, did he actually drive a Porsche? and there's an answer to that, maybe you share it with them or make them read the article.
So he actually owned a Porsche too. He had a 87, I think, a cabriolet, Carrera cabriolet, which unfortunately, I think was like a goldish color. The guy who bought it, well-intentioned, made it into a turbo body. It was an aero body, and then he painted it yellow like on his helmet. So if you see two Porsches that obviously are polar opposites as far as 911s go, it's the same car. It's just the guy who bought it
Made it
again, well-intentioned.
Yeah.
Some people didn't like what he did, but nonetheless. So he had that car, but more importantly, he got to race a 956 once at the Nürburgring, and really fascinating. And that out of the three drivers, he was the fastest right from the get-go. Never having driven a 956, and first time driving it in the rain. He wanted to drive it because this would get him a chance to be familiar with the Nürburgring. And because he was going to be racing there in Formula One, so he figured the seat time wouldn't hurt. Plus, he got paid, which Reinhold Jost, who owned the team, Jost Racing, he usually got money from the drivers to drive, not pay the drivers. So he was a little shocked when he was told you're going to have to pay.
Yeah.
Send a $10,000, I think it was, to race. But he said that there's a link to an interview with Jost when he talks about this. How Senna basically gave him notes on how to improve the car.
Yeah.
Was the fastest from the get-go in the rain, fastest during the race. They had issues with the car, so he finished 8th or 9th. But Porsche, it sparked enough interest that Porsche was like, well, what about we put this guy in the 956 at the factory at Weissach and do some test laps, and maybe we can get him on the Le Mans team. And basically, his manager said it's not going to happen. He wants to race Formula One. He wants to win Formula One world champion. He's not going to race for Porsche.
Yeah.
So that was his only the 1 degree of separation between him and Porsche.
And even though there wasn't a whole lot of Porsche content, if you're an automotive enthusiast, especially if you like F1, I would highly recommend this series. It really, I am a bit naive. I know of politics, but the level of politics that they went into with this series, again, I found myself Googling, and then again, you understand production and trying to make it realistic. But I found it cool how the characters that played the different drivers really looked like the real life people. Like that's a budget level.
The cool thing about that series is because we have YouTube, you can go back and actually see the actual races that they feature in the movie where, Senna in the Lotus in the rain comes from the back of the pack and wins a race, passes Prost, and how he was just phenomenal in the rain.
Yeah, very cool. So let's see. Before we head over, here you go. Sign up for PCA's newsletters, PCA.org. You can sign up for performance news, e-brake news, and Mart Fresh news, all free. Now, speaking of news, we don't have a whole lot of Porsche news, but I thought I'd bring up something that you guys might enjoy, and maybe you can guess. So I brought up top 10 most expensive cars sold on Bring a Trailer in 2024. Top 10 most expensive cars sold on Bring a Trailer in 2024. And this goes in line with, I think we can say where Project 964 may be?
Yep, it's on YouTube already.
So it's going to be on Bring a Trailer.
Okay, all right.
Avant-garde, Bring a Trailer.
Exactly. Okay. So, of the top 10, you guys...
It won't make the top 10 most... I don't think it would make the top 10.
I'm trying to fuel it, so maybe it will.
$1 million.
Any guesses on the brands that are in the top 10?
Ferrari.
Pagani. Bugatti.
Bugatti, yes.
Not
Pagani.
Not Ferrari.
Not Ferrari, wow.
Not Ferrari. Bugatti, yes. 2 Bugattis in top 10.
Okay, I see.
How about
So
our
cars.
own brand? How many do you think
Porsche.
do you think Porsche made it?
GT1 made it, I'm sure.
So-
7
so-
million, right?
So, this is only cars from Bring a Trailer.
Oh,
Top
Bring a
10.
Trailer.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what Bring a Trailer would have had.
I have to give up on that one.
Yeah, so there's two Porsches
Lamborghini?
on this list. I think there is. There's one domestic vehicle.
CO6?
No, think bigger. There's a Ford.
Cobra.
There's a Ford.
There's
There's a
gotta be
Ford.
an original Cobra.
And then the car that you will say, "Oh, I get this," but you probably won't think about it. Is there are actually the most cars on this list from one brand is Mercedes.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. So let's see how you guys are good on pricing. So number 10 is at Ford GT 64 Heritage Edition.
A 1964 GT.
No, 2022.
2022.
What year?
2022 Ford GT,
So that's
the Heritage Edition,
that's
the newest one.
Newest one.
So I've
Yep.
guessed like the last three big numbers, like.
I'm gonna say, I don't know, 2.1.
But hold on. So Ford GT Heritage. I'm going to say 1.5 million.
Oh, close. 1.2. 1.2.
Ah.
That was way
Okay. Yeah, you're way off. I'm not in that market either. I wouldn't have guessed it. So how about a 1961, the ninth most expensive, 1961 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Roadster. Gorgeous car.
It's a Roadster
1.9.
on 1.5.
1.3.
I'll just keep saying
Okay.
1.5.
Another
until
1959 300 SL Roadster.
59. Another SL Roadster.
That's gotta be
1.5.
I was gonna say 1.4.
1.3. 1.3.
Oh my gosh.
All right. How about here's our own brand, 2019 Porsche 935.
1.7.
Oh, I was gonna say 1.6.
1.6.
Oh.
Just because I've seen that number somewhere.
Yeah. And that's the all black one.
And what were they new? Were they a little over $1 million or under $1 million?
I don't remember.
I don't know. Here's the next Porsche is a 1988 959 Comfort Edition.
Comfort.
And it's regular, it's not a Canepa or,
Regular. Yep.
well, I'd say we're at 1.5, right? Or
1.6.
Yeah.
2.1 million.
I'm going to say 1.9.
1.8.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. How about a 55 300 SL Going?
Oh, it's a lot of
Another Mercedes.
Yeah.
Steel
SLs.
body or alloy body? That's it.
It just says one of the 1400 Going coupes built during the
They had steel and alloy?
Yeah.
Rouge
I didn't
knockoff.
realize that.
Pretty sure it was out. There was alloy. I would say,
2.1.
I was going to say 1.9.
1.825.
Oh.
Another Mercedes, 1934 Mercedes-Benz 500K. I have no idea.
I don't
what
even
the
know what
market
that
for
is.
these things are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
500K. I'm just going to 2.1.
I could see them in the Indiana Jones series.
Yeah,
with little Nazi
exactly.
flags on it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
2 million.
2.1?
2
I was
million.
gonna say.
2 million.
Okay.
All right. Here's the, I think the Soul Lambo, a 2022 Lamborghini Countach LPI 800-4.
Countach.
One
Wow.
of
I would've
those.
thought
New
that.
one. That's a new one.
Yeah, that's super limited. I'm going to say 2.
One of 112.
Yeah, I'm going to say 2.7.
2.3.
Million.
2.5.
Oh,
2.5.
wow.
Number 2 car, 2018 Bugatti Chiron. I am not in the Chiron market. I have
They
no
were
clue.
like 1.3 new, I think. Or something like that. They were over $1 million new.
exposed carbon fiber body.
2.5.
$3 million.
Wow. I wouldn't have guessed that.
All right. And number 1, top 10 cars sold at Bring a Trailer, a 2022 Bugatti Chiron per sport. Per
3.2?
sport.
4 million.
One of 60 examples. What do you say?
4 million.
Very good. 4.1.
Oh, wow.
4.1. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Cars
That's
that
impressive.
most of us will never even sit in.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I've sat in a Going before, so I have to.
I was going to say,
yeah, I've
David,
sat-
David gave me a ride in his.
yeah. So okay, it's not that exclusive. We just won't be buying any of them.
We just got to get better equipped friends who can give us rides in these cars.
All right, back to events here. Again, just wanted to remind you, Works Reunion Amelia Island at the Amelia River Club, March 7th. Judge spots are sold out. Still plenty of room in the crowd. Looking forward to seeing you there. Treffin Homestead, which is April 30th to May 4th. Hot Springs, Virginia. Omni Homestead Resort registration opens February 5th. Reminder that these sell out very, very quickly. So watch for that news. Make all of your decisions early.
Yep.
And when the time comes, be ready to register and check out.
And have first choice and second choice and third choice You don't want to get hung up and making decisions that I know it sounds like the Hunger Games to register for
Yeah.
for Treffin, but this will sell out very fast because a lot of people told me they want to attend this.
Yeah. Speaking of people saying they want to attend, Porsche Parade Oklahoma City is like, I'm getting more and more people enamored with the whole Oklahoma City. They have some stories. They have family. The venue that we're going to be at it's a spectacular facility. That's July 6th through 12th, and registration will be open in Q1. I think February is when you do the first round of registration, but just stay tuned to eBreak News. We'll let you know about that, and we should have some parade information in an upcoming issue of Panorama. I think it's going to run in the February issue, if I'm not mistaken. We talked about the Treffin at Sea 2025 70th anniversary cruise leaving out of New York. That'll be August 30th through September 6th. You can sign up for that today. Also, speaking of the 70th anniversary, you will be getting your design edition of Panorama for January. And in that will be a commemorative 70th anniversary decal inside that magazine. So make sure you open it up and get your decal there. That's one way for us to deliver it to every household.
What I would encourage people, if you're bored, 'cause I did this over the holidays. I was doing research on some articles, and I started looking through the early 70s panoramas, which are all online for members. And it is pretty cool to go back and read where the club was at that point. The panoramas read almost like a region newsletter. In that, so they do a road test of the 914.6 in 1970. The next road test that I come into is 77 for the 924.
Really?
So
Wow,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. They it's not like today where there's so many
always a
road test articles in Panorama. Back then it was like I don't know if that was a product that Porsche didn't offer many road tests or they just did it when a new model came. So there wasn't like a road test on a 73 914 2-liter. It was just here's a brand new model and we do a road test. I'm hoping to have some people that we know that are somewhat local that can come on and maybe tell us about the club
Back in the day?
back in the day,
Yeah.
and how we got to the point where we are. Because one of the things that I always heard, and I never actually read, and I found the issue where it was announced. So when Panorama would come out, and you got to remember the internet wasn't around back then. The ads was a pretty big deal. Kind of like when Hemmings and Motor News would come out before the internet. That was your first shot. So Hemmings would sell, I think like overnight. You could get it as soon as it came off the presses the next day. So you have first shot of looking at those ads. So members were complaining that the executive committee was getting first shot at all these ads before anybody else did. Well, sometimes it would take 3 weeks because they even brought a fourth-class mail, which I don't think they have anymore. I think we call it something else.
Periodicals, okay.
And so the president, Mick Williams, at the time, he announced that that he's listened to your complaints, and what they're going to do is they give out 17 production or pre-mailed panoramas that come out first-class mail.
Yeah.
And he's instructed Betty Jo to mutilate every single copy by taking out the classifieds.
Oh, really?
So, and I had heard that they used to, and this is when I got on the EC and the internet was just at its infancy in like 2000, that they would tear out the, in fact, when I got on EC, I wasn't getting Pano mailed to me yet. I got to just look at the regular member, but they would physically cut out the classified section and then mailed a copy. And the reason the executive council got the copy was if a member called up complaining about something, they would know what the member was talking about because they already had the copy in their hand. So, yeah, it was stuff like that I found fascinating as to how the club has evolved. But their stuff was like when they announced they're going to start reimbursing national staff when they travel, because obviously they realize unless you're independently wealthy, you can't volunteer if you're expected to pay for everything. And most people, they're losing good people because they can't afford to travel around the country on their own nickel. But little things like that I started reading how we got to where we are
It's cool.
But what I really found, and this is going to be an article I'm going to write for eBreak. So in the 914 community, there's always this, I call it urban legend, that PCA never liked the 914. And PCA tried to get the 914 banned and not recognized as a new Porsche. Now, regionally, maybe that happened. We don't get region newsletters, at least we don't have them archived, but we do have our national magazine archived. And I went from 1969 all the way to 1976 looking for anything that made a disparage the 914. Couldn't find anything other than positive comments because everyone thought this was going to be the car they asked for, which was a modern speedster, something inexpensive, lightweight, smart interior, the spirit of the speedster. So that's what they were hoping for. They had heard that the new speedster was coming, and it was going to be this thing called the 914. I did find, I think in '76, Chuck Stoddard, who was a former national president, and of course, he was the owner at the time of Stoddard Porsche dealership. And now Stoddard still goes on, even though Chuck passed away. And he was at a tech session, I think. And somebody said, is the 914 a Porsche, a real Porsche? And he paused and he said, well, he goes, by asking me, he said, what kind of car do you have? And because it's like a transcript of this conversation. And the guy asked the question, said, I have a 356. What year? He said, 62. All right. He says, well, let's say you have a 51 or 52. He says, back then, a lot of that car had Volkswagen parts in it. Porsche number one was essentially a Volkswagen that was hot rodded.
Yeah.
Porsche, as they got more money and started developing, started changing over to their own parts and using their own parts. But when it started, it was a Volkswagen. Do we call Porsche number one a Porsche, or do we say it's really a Volkswagen? No, we call it a Porsche. He said, so the 914, he said, when they first came out with it, it had a 1700cc engine from the Volkswagen Type 4. But as Porsche made it their own, they came with a 2-liter with their own heads, and they started changing little things to make it a Porsche. He said, so by asking me if the 914 is a 914 a real Porsche, you're asking me the answer is the Porsche number one a real Porsche. And he goes, and I think it's absolutely no question that the 914 is a real Porsche.
That's cool.
And I thought that, number one, answered a question that PCA never looked down on the 914.
Yeah.
People regionally, sometimes people can't take any joking or a good ribbing sometimes. But yeah, because I always tell the story when I joined the club, I had a 914 and a 924, so two unloved cars.
Yeah.
No one ever said anything like you don't belong in this club or anything. They were so happy that they had anyone who would volunteer to help out.
Yeah.
You could have been driving a turbo, or they didn't care.
I think it's just, we know the 911 is such a strong symbol.
Sure.
And it's, and the 356. And some people, if it's not that model, they feel like they are not a true Porsche, but that's so far from it.
That's when I hear like the Boxer is not a real Porsche. I just laugh my butt off because I'm thinking, and what do you think is a real Porsche if you don't think a Boxer is, which is true captures the true spirit of what Porsche is.
Absolutely.
But anyways, yeah, if you get a chance as a member, you have free access to all these panoramas. The search function isn't the greatest, I'll warn you. But I just was going to the table of contents and looking for some interesting articles, or the articles I was looking for. And the early issues aren't many pages, so you can get through them pretty quickly, but really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, read the stories. The advertising is also very cool.
Make you sad when you look at the classifieds, the price of some cars.
You want to head up and talk about videos?
Yeah. Our latest release... Was it Rolf's video?
No,
I'm pretty sure
Christmas
it was,
surprise. Right?
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
The Christmas surprise.
Yeah, we had filmed a Nathan Mers video back in April, and it was Carrera 3.2, which is the 84 to 89, the 964 Carrera 2, which is 90 to 94. I'm not talking about the Carrera 4, which was 89, and the 993, which was 95 to 98. And I'm kind of surprised at how much this video really gelled with people. Because almost 30,000 of you have watched it as we're recording.
I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, I'm kind of like, well, yeah, I guess we answered or helped to answer a question that's probably on everybody's minds who was shopping for an air-cooled 911.
Air-cooled iteration,
Yeah.
Nathan. model.
Yeah, it's so we have full model guides on the Carrera 3.2, the 964, and the 993. So you can watch those separately, but this is sort of a good introduction. So if you're still narrowing down, do I want a Carrera 3.2 or a 964 or 993? This video will give you a good idea of what to expect as an owner if you buy one of them. So yeah, great video. We also have a video called special Porsche tools that every dealer uses, and that was filmed at Tech Tactics East earlier this year with Rolf Kittlitz. And these are probably not every tool, but a lot of the expensive tools that you'll never want to put in your own garage. But
explains why oil changes cost $400 or $500.
Yeah,
because the dealer has to buy all these tools that are very
specific.
Yeah, it's just fascinating, some of the tools that Ralph, and it came from a conversation he and I had at Tech Tactics, and during a lunch break, he was showing us all these tools he has, and he had a crowd of people listening to him talk about just this during a break, and I thought, if all these people are gathering around looking at these bizarre tools, this probably make a good episode of.
Yeah, they have drawers where it's like form-fitted place for this particular tool, but this tool does like one thing. One thing, very specific.
And probably costs $1,000 or something. So,
back to the 3.2, 964, 993. Is it just me, or when I love to read all of the comments? But because I own a 3.2, I feel like there was a lot of people going, 3.2, 3.2. When you read it, did you feel like a lot of people were going 964, 964? And I don't know.
I was reading they love Nathan Mers.
Oh, yeah. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, there were a lot of Carrera 3.2 people who chimed in.
I thought so, right? And I was surprised to see how many people, I don't know, I thought I always kind of default to the 993 is going to be the one that people comment.
People say you want to buy air cooled. That's my go-to, these three cars.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a matter of what experience are you looking for, what's your price range.
Yep.
And, of course, you buy the best condition car out of those three. But it's and that the 964 is going to be harder to find because they were going bankrupt. They didn't make as many. 993 to me has never gone down in value. Like when I bought my 964 for $17,000, 993s were still mid to high 30s.
Yeah,
I wish I could say they went. If they would have went down to 17, I would have bought several. But they never just
think about it. Have you ever seen a 993 for less than 30?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Not one that was in good shape. And
I've never seen one.
You know, it's like the 3.2s. They also never really dropped down. An 87 to 89, they didn't.
But they dropped down pretty hard, you know.
Not below 20.
Yeah, 3.2s?
No.
Yeah, I could find 3.2s all day.
87 to 89.
Yeah, any 3.2 in the early 2010s, late 2000s, early 2010s.
Really?
Oh yeah.
No,
less when I bought all day long.
When I bought my,
I don't think
when
so.
I bought my 964, the 3.2s were mid 20s at minimum.
Yeah, I bought my car in 2002, 2003, and it was high 20s.
Yeah, I could have bought a Carrera 3.2 or a 964 at some point. So, 964s and Carrera 3.2s dropped to roughly the same amount. It's just that
I can't remember that.
964s dropped harder and faster. Yeah. Anyway,
the 964s never had gone up.
Yeah.
They. I mean, when I bought my when it was 5 years old, I bought my 964 for $30,000, and it was about 33,000 miles on it. Two previous owners, and that's when I eventually turned into a race car. So then in 08, and that would have been in 95, I bought that. Then in 08, that's when I buy the second car, and they were 17,000, 18,000.
Let's ask the audience. Chime in comments. Can you guys remember if Carrera 3.2s were less than $20,000, or is Damon just out of his mind?
Decent drivers. I don't want the fringe ones that.
Yeah. Decent drivers. Not perfect, but
Below 20?
Yeah. I found mid-years with balanced and blueprinted engines parked next to my house for $14,000.
I'm talking about 87 to 89.
I know, and if you can find it,
that's a G50.
In 2010?
2006, 7 for a mid-year is something the specific one. You could totally find Carrera 3.2s running and driving for less than 20. Totally. It's just that 964s were newer, but they were the same price. So I was always like, I want a 964. But
Like maybe some track cars back when
yeah.
maybe some track cars.
Well, I think this is probably going to bring the most comments.
Yeah.
Insert comments because
You're really old.
yeah, right. No, the
Well,
music
while you're
memories,
figuring
though.
that out, let me give a
Yeah.
plug for PCASimRacing.com. Many of us have our cars tucked away. It's really cold out and we're not able to really drive competitively locally. So give PCA Sim Racing a try, PCASimRacing.com. They'll show you how to get your rig set up and what you need to do to start racing with other PCA members. If you're looking for some PCA Insider swag, head over to the PCA web store. We've got bottles and mugs and shirts. And if you'd like a PCA Insider decal, just send your mailing address to podcast@pca.org and we'll send you a set of stickers and you can show them off proudly. All right. Anything else, gentlemen, before we wrap up the first podcast of the year? Thank you again to Pirelli for being our first official sponsor of PCA Insider. Much appreciate your support. And for those of you that are looking for tires, consider Pirelli with their support and the stuff that they're putting out there. I'm running Trofeo Rs. I would love to try the new Trofeo RSs. We'll see how that comes about. But thank you for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, again, grab that VIN, head over to PCA.org. Check out the test drive program if you're looking for a Porsche. Remember to follow our podcast Instagram page, behind the scenes photos, videos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. With that, I wish you
I will say that I just found from looking at the old panoramas, like I said,
2010.
89 911 with 118,000 miles for 19,000.
There you go.
There's also a 89 Carrera with 26,000 miles for 36,000.
Oh, so some examples may have dropped below 20.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you are correct. All right, folks. Well, have a great new year, and we look forward to hanging out with you in 2025. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road.